People think that you have to be brilliant in every aspect in business and life or whatever it is to be successful. I believe that we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, but you really need to foster your strengths, whatever your weaknesses are, that you surround yourself with those types of people. Henry Ford created a mastermind alliance, and that's what you have to do.
Everything we see in the world that was created by man was first created in his mind. It's like Van Gogh said, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. We have to understand that whatever Rembrandt or Van Gogh used, we have available to us.
This book changed my life. It was August 18th, 2006. I'd been practicing law, and a friend invited me to a management seminar. And I remember arriving on the Friday night, and I'm in the seminar room, and it was such a transformative evening that I could tell you exactly where I was sitting. I could tell you what I was wearing, and I could tell you what the speaker that came out on stage was wearing and what he was saying. And, well, it was Bob Proctor. And he had the book, Think and Grow Rich. And he was talking about the lessons he had learned. At that time, I guess it was about over 45 years. He's now been studying the book for 55 years. He said, most people tiptoe through life, hoping to make it safely to death. I thought, wow, what a concept, because when we're born, we're risk takers. We're just naturally risk takers. We want to get up there, we want to walk around, we want to, learn to run and learn to do things. And then as we grow older, we're taught to play it safe, stay in the comfort zone. And he quoted Bill Gove saying, if I want to be free, I got to be me. Not the me I think you think I should be, not the me I think my wife thinks I should be, not the me I think my kids think I should be. If I want to be free, I got to be me. And I better know who me is. And I remember it was like a bucket of ice poured over my head, and I thought, oh my God, am I living the life I'm meant to live? And he kept saying, what do you want? What do you really want? And something inside of me woke up, and it was like, there is a greater purpose for me. I'm physically in the seminar room, but my mind is flashing through the boardrooms and executive offices. And I started to see this program. I started to see the design of the program, what it would be called, Thinking into Results. I could see it on a Fortune 50 executive's bookshelf, and I could see the executives coming up to me and saying what a big impact it had on their life and their family's life and their entire company and community. And I remember walking out of the seminar room on the Sunday evening, turning around and literally talking to the seminar room, and I said, I don't know how, but I'm going to do this.
Babe Ruth, everybody knows he had the record for most home runs, but he also did well in the strikeouts. One time he was asked by a sports reporter, said, Babe, what do you think about when that pitcher strikes it out? He said, I'm starting to feel sorry for the next one I face because it's time for another home run. So he didn't concentrate on the strikeouts because often he'd strike out several times in one game. But he also, a lot of games, he hit a home run with somebody on base and won the ball game. So only the success is what counts. But we can lose focus by counting on where we didn't succeed and not enjoy and progress on what's been successful for us.
When I first saw the book Think and Grow Rich, it reminded me when I told my mom at 16, I'm gonna get rich. The mentality that really makes the difference is action. It's not intelligence, it's not connections, it is action. I've never thought I was limited to this, the cranium or 5'8", or a body. He was really confronting the spiritual being, not the physical body. Thought is not a physical thing, it's out here, right? I've just been lucky enough since the age of 25 to be interested in my personal development and getting rid of limited thinking so I could have and create and move toward abundance and prosperity and freedom, real freedom. You're free if you create freedom for yourself. And that first starts with the ability to think freely.
So people always ask me, is there a way to change a negative thought to a positive thought? And the answer is no, you're out of luck. You can't do that. The only way you can change A negative thought is with a positive affirmation, when you say your goals out loud. So the moment I have a negative thought, I say my goals out loud, and then the negative thought goes away.
Mary Kim Titla, who is the National Executive Director of United National Indian Tribal Youth, she and I have worked together with Native youth now for 20 years. And a few years ago, she said, would you come and speak to my son Bear's 8th grade football team? Because they're getting killed, they're getting demoralized. They lost 48-0 yesterday, they lost 38-0 last week, 28-10 the week before, it keeps getting worse. I said, sure, and I drove down, it's about an hour and a half. It's literally the land of Geronimo. That's where he's from. And I simply said to them, you know, you're in 8th grade, but I'm gonna tell you something that will help you the rest of your lives that is just as important and just as true for you as it is for NFL players, which is the only thing you have to do right now is to use all of your focus and bring all of your passion. It may sound simple. That's all you have to do for the next 2 hours, because there's so many players that have more speed, more talent, more physical ability that never make it in the NFL because they never learned that. For the next 2 hours, I challenge you to do that. In the first 11 plays, and I have witnesses to this, they scored 3 touchdowns. They won the rest of their games. Mary Kim told me they didn't lose another game. And then 3 months later, she calls me up and she says, 16 of those 22 young people are on the basketball team, including my son Bear, the quarterback, and they just finished the regular season undefeated. Now, that wasn't my power. It was simply helping them see the power they had.
Well, my story starts as a young man. At age 17, my biggest ambition was to be an All-American football player and then go into the NFL and hopefully play for the beloved Dallas Cowboys. And the coaches and the scouts and the people that monitor those sorts of things kind of assured me I had the size and speed to do that. And I thought my future was set. Then one day, during a routine physical to go play another season of football, I was diagnosed with the condition that would cause me to lose my sight. 10 years later, I was totally blind, and I woke up that morning, I instantly knew I'd lost the remainder of my sight, and I knew I would live the rest of my life as a blind person, and the thoughts and the doubts and the fears that came over me would be impossible to describe. I was 29 years old. I had never met a blind person. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do with the rest of my life. So the only plan I could come up with involved moving into this little 9 by 12 foot room in the back of my house. And in my little room, I had my radio and my telephone and my tape recorder. And I really fully intended to never leave that room again. The thought of traveling millions of miles and talking to millions of people, or writing 30 books and having 6 of them made into movies, or doing speeches, or running a television network with over 1,000 stations, or doing this movie project would have seemed as foreign to me as going to the moon. So I sat in my little 9 by 12 foot self-imposed prison, and I never thought I would leave that room again. And I sat there broke and despondent and depressed and suicidal. I thought of that. I remember they brought me a white cane, and they said, Jim, this will never be away from your side. You'll never have a job. People won't like you. Women won't want to hang around with you. Men won't put up with you. You're never going to make money. You'll need to get on relief or welfare. And this cane will never be more than a few feet away from you until you die. And I sat that cane on one side of my chair. And on the other side of my chair were tapes that people had given me of Think and Grow Rich and other great books. And I realized there's not much I can do sitting in this little room, broke and scared. I can't even get out of this little room, but I can think. And the whole world changed because I changed my life when I changed my mind, sitting in that little room. Because on one side was the white cane, and on the other side was a voice telling me pure, powerful, positive possibility. And I realized somebody's lying to me. And I figured I'd rather die believing in possibility than live believing that we're all here to be poor.
Well, some people don't believe in the law of attraction, but I've proven it, I've seen it scientifically, and therefore it exists. Some people ask me, as a scientist, can thoughts really change the world? Can they really create things? Yes, of course, thoughts can really impact reality. As we have shown in our water research, you can even change your physical body. We have believed for a long time that water is able to store information. Then we came across a method which is a simple dark field microscope. And with this dark field microscope, we take photographs from drops of water. The drops are placed on a glass plate. Then the water evaporates. You expect probably on this glass plate a random picture, but this isn't a random picture. The structure in this picture depends on the information which has been in the water. So basically it depends on what the water has experienced in the past. And then we impact thoughts, special thoughts. For example, please build a center, you drop. The experimenter influences the pictures we see. A person does not touch the water. The water is in a syringe, and if you have your strong thoughts enough, then we see after evaporating that a center is built in this drop. This is a transition from the spiritual to the physical world. And in this transition, we pass the state of form. Thoughts are feelings. You have good thoughts or you have bad thoughts. And for example, if you have a shock, if you have a bad emotion, then you will see that afterwards, all the drops you made are not the same as before. These drops are totally changed. These drops are really unstructured. You realize that you are what you think, and you create your surrounding as you are. And I think this is the most important thought.
The power of thought can be so strong and have such an impact that you don't even realize what your thoughts might do to you or to others. It was sometime in the late 80s, I was living in La Jolla. It was during a very severe drought in California. I had heard on the radio that the reservoirs were so low that there was no drinking water for animals who would visit these reservoirs, and animals were dying, and I thought, well, this sounds like a good cause. So we thought we'd make t-shirts and bumper stickers, because back then you didn't have social media and other ways to promote things. It was very old school. And we wanted to have this name called Think Rain. So Think Rain was this idea we had, and we were going to use it to create awareness about raising money and also maybe even get people to think about the necessity to conserve water. I called up Sacramento from Southern California and I said,
how long does it take to get a statewide trademark? Really?
And they basically said, we'll send you the application. That'll take probably 2 weeks. You can fill it out, send it back. But I don't really have that much time. You know, in my mind, it was an emergency. I decided we were doing it and I wasn't going to wait for paperwork. So we got in the car, my friend drove, and we had a pad of paper, and I took a pen and I scribbled on it really thick, Think Rain. And as soon as we got on the freeway, the first car I held the sign up to, without even realizing it, was a station wagon full of nuns. And they were like, you know, bless you, you know? So we began to flash every single car we saw through the whole state of California on our way from Southern to Northern California to go to the state capitol to get this document we wanted to secure ownership of the name. I don't know how many people we flashed. It must have been, I don't know, it could have been 1,000 or more. And every person was like, yeah, Think Rain, that's a great idea. And so as we pulled into Sacramento, I remember going under this underpass, and as we went under it, there's like a drop of water that hit the windshield, and I thought, is that like just condensation? What was that? So we pull into the Capitol and we go into the Secretary of State's office.
Look, her schedule is really full up today. I'm sorry.
It's really important that we get our trademark done today.
No, you have to submit it, and the Secretary of State will review it and will send it back to you.
Is there anything you can do to just get 5 minutes? I promise. That's all it'll take.
We told her what it was about, and she goes, well, just a minute. And she comes back about 10 minutes later and says, the Secretary of State of California, March Fong Yu, will see you now. And we're like, really?
This is about bringing awareness about the terrible drought that's been going on in California. We believe that Think Rain can be something that people can start thinking positively about and putting their energy towards to stop this terrible drought. That's why we wanted to see you directly.
And you believe this will make a difference?
Madam Secretary, you can see outside your window. the drought is affecting everything.
Emma, can you bring the stamp in, please?
Go make history.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
And we left and we got in the car and we started driving home. And as we drove home, it began to rain. And it rained. And it rained. And that drought was over. We never made a single bumper sticker. We never made a single t-shirt because there was no reason to.
Once you say, yes, I'm going to do that, and you make that definite decision, the world starts to change because your mind, the greatest gift we've ever been given, will start looking for ways to make your dream come true instead of looking for excuses, which is how you live until you have a definiteness of purpose.
For as long as I can remember, I've been an athlete. When I wasn't training, I was reading about it. When I wasn't reading about it, I was thinking about it. It was my life. In fact, my nickname was Janine the Machine because that embodied the sort of person I was. Well, I found myself as a member of the Australian ski team, and my goal was to represent my country at the Olympics, to really put Australia on the map as a force to be reckoned with. That was my dream, and nothing was going to stop me. Then on one warm autumn day, I set out on a training bike ride with my fellow teammates. We'd been on our bikes for around 5.5 hours when we got to the part of the ride that I loved, and I got up off the seat of my bike and I started pumping my legs, and as I sucked in the cold mountain air, I could feel it burning my lungs. And I looked up to see the sun shining in my face, and then everything went black. My body was consumed with pain. I'd been hit by a speeding truck. I'd broken my neck and my back in 6 places, 5 ribs on my left side, my right collarbone, my right arm. My head was cut open across the front, lifted back, exposing the skull underneath. I had internal injuries and I had massive blood loss. One part of me was in intensive care, excruciating pain, and the other part was detached and pain-free. I spent 10 days between dimensions, and I was given a choice to stay in this spiritual dimension or to return to my broken body. After 10 days, I opened my eyes to find myself back in my body, and the journey had begun. I spent 6 months flat on my back in the spinal ward, and when I left, it was a very different person from the one that had come in. I had a body that didn't function. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't move my legs. I had no feeling from the waist down. And they told me that if I did walk again, it would be with calipers and a walking frame. I can remember my doctor saying to me, "What are you going to do when you get home?" And I said, "I'm going to the Olympics." And she looked at me and said, in a matter-of-fact way, "Janine, you're never going to be able to do the things you did before." And that was my rock bottom. And the only way that I was going to move forward was to let go of the life that I thought I was supposed to have. And when I made that decision, my whole life changed. I realized that even with my broken body, Janine the Machine was still alive. Sometime after that, I was sitting outside in my wheelchair in my plaster body cast, and an aeroplane flew overhead. And I looked up and I thought to myself, okay, if I can't walk, then maybe I can fly. That moment changed my life. In my plaster body cast and a pair of baggy overalls that my mother bought me, my friend and my mother drove me out to the local airport. and they'd lifted me into a light aircraft for the first time. Everybody thought I was crazy, and I remember sitting in the cockpit and wondering how on earth would I ever be able to do this. But I had a dream, and the instructor that was next to me took off and allowed me to fly that day with my hands. And I thought to myself, I can do this. I am going to learn how to fly. There was something burning so strongly inside me that nothing could stop me.
A burning desire is an inner candle, an inner flame that can never be extinguished. And no matter what may go before you, come hell or high water, you are going to bet your existence on this burning desire. And if the cynics come, and the doubters come, and the negative, toxic people come, you will use their cynicism, you will use their doubt to propel you forward. Arguably one of the most impactful and inspiring stories and profiles in my book, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, centers on Mary McLeod Bethune, when she started what is now Bethune-Cookman College. You go back to the mid to the late 1920s, and here's a black woman who had never been president of anything. I mean, she had never been executive director, she had never been first in her class, but what did she have? She had a dream.
Hello. Are you here for school?
Yes.
What's your name?
Mary McLeod. Can I help you carry them books?
Those books.
Those books.
Yes. Thank you, Mary. Why are you so early?
It's 5 miles, and I didn't know how long it would take to walk over here.
You walked 5 miles by yourself. How old are you, Mary?
11. I run most of the way.
Why did you come by yourself? Don't you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 younger brothers, but they too small to come. And 14 big brothers and sisters, but they too busy with work and such. But when you teaches me how to read, I can teach all of them how to read too.
True. Miss Mary McLeod, you ran 5 miles before breakfast, and you are the 15th of 17 children.
Yes, and
this is your desk. And this is your first book.
But I can't read it. I don't even know its name.
You will read it.
This is the best day ever. Better than birthdays and Christmas and all the other days.
In 1904, with only 6 students and desks made of discarded milk crates, Mary Bethune started her own school for girls. In 1931, she became president of Bethune-Cookman College. Shortly after, she was invited to the White House by President Roosevelt and First Lady Eleanor.
Right this way, Miss Bethune.
What an honor to meet you.
The honor is mine, Mrs. Roosevelt.
You know, you were the president of a college when there was hardly a woman college president anywhere in the world.
Well, when you start a little school and grow it up to be a college, no one could tell you no to being president.
Your college is thriving now while others are failing, and I know why. It is our pledge to make a lasting contribution to all that is finest and best in America, to cherish and enrich her heritage of freedom by working to integrate all her people, regardless of race, creed, or national origin.
I can't believe I'm sitting in the White House and the First Lady is quoting me to me.
How is this fire born in you? Have you always had it?
Well, when I was a little girl, I went with Mama to deliver laundry to a white lady's house, and I picked a book up and the child snatched it away. "You can't read," she said. And I decided that that was the only difference between white and black folks, was that white folks could read. My whole life was based on that.
God bless that little brat wherever she may be. She helped create a great woman who's brought the light into thousands of lives. I'm going to the National Convention of Women in Florida. I've asked to be seated next to you on the platform.
Now, Mrs. Roosevelt, you know it's against the law in the state of Florida for white and black folks to sit next to each other.
I know. I'd like to see the officer with the gumption to try and arrest the two of us.
Yeah, that would be a whole heap of gumption at that.
Yes, a whole heap.
President Roosevelt is ready to meet Mrs. Bethune now.
Oh my, oh my. Christmas and birthdays all rolled into one.